Makalo aviv v'imay moisumas. A person who curses his father and his mother is going to die. Now, the skila, the punishment we're talking about here is skila. It's a more intense form of death than chenek, which is what the punishment gets for a person who hurts someone and kills somebody with his hands. Why is the punishment for speech more intense than the punishment for hurting somebody with your hands? So there's a couple answers here. This is really, really amazing. The first answer is very straightforward. The Ramban says because one of them used the Shem Hashem. Using the name of Hashem to curse someone, to hurt somebody else, is very severe. Kodesh Baruch Hu is all about chesed. He's about goodness, and now using his very name as essence to hurt someone else, that's horrible. That needs a much more intense punishment. That's number one. And that's a very important idea because it means the more power you have, the more responsibility you have. Anytime Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem is willing to give us the right to use his name, that's a very, very big power. So with that power comes great responsibility. You have to know that's the case. That's number one. The second reason, says the Ramban, is that the sin of cursing people, of speaking negatively towards other people, is much more common than the sin of hurting or killing people with your hands. Anytime you have something that happens more commonly, more frequently, you need a higher level of deterrent. In this case, a more intense punishment, which is skila instead of chenek, and that'll hopefully help people to stop cursing people with their mouth. But there's a much deeper idea here. There's a Tosefta in Mesechtes Erechin that tells us incredible. It says that the sin of words is more intense than the sin of action. Now, that's not what I would think. I would think that action is greater than words. And you can't just talk, you have to do. Yeah, you have to take action. But here, this is a very important idea. There's a lot of reasons for this. One reason is because if I hurt somebody with my fists, with my hand, with my body, and I hurt their body, that can heal. But if I hurt somebody with my words, very hard to heal. Rabbi Victor Miller tells a story about when he was 70-something years old, and he says he remembers when he was 3 or 4 years old how someone complimented him on how he looked. He remembers 65 years later, still feels it. And certainly a curse or an insult is the same exact thing. You feel it years later, it's hard to let that ever leave. It's hard to have a healing for such a thing. So it's more intense. Your words are more intense than your actions in a certain sense. The second thing is very, very deep. You know, there's a halacha that you're not allowed to go to the bathroom. When you're going to the bathroom, you're not allowed to talk. What's the reason for that? So one reason is because when you're going to the bathroom, you're using your body. And your body is limited and it's lowly. But when you're speaking, you're using the koyach that a Kodesh Baruch Hu breathed into you. You're using the koyach, the power of your neshama. That's what speech is. So it's completely inappropriate that when you're going to the bathroom, you're using your body, the lower part of who you are, you also use your higher capacity at that time as well. So if I hit somebody with my hand, chas v'shalom, I hurt them with their body, it's body to body, that's a horrible thing. But if I'm using the power of my soul, which is speech comes from the power of the soul, that's a much higher level of action. And if I use it negatively, the punishment has to be more intense as well. That's why the punishment for speaking is more intense than the punishment for action.